We're going to try everything. We don't care.
Got to. Yeah. Just throw everything out there and see what sticks and see what works. One thing that is working, that Oklahoma Sooners defense.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune into the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, we've talked a lot about the offensive coordinator situation. We hadn't really spent a whole lot of time talking about the game. I spent 50 minutes talking about the game on Saturday. You're joining us now to kind of give us your reaction to what the Oklahoma defense did on Saturday, because that was a bright spot. If you could find any kind of bright spot in that game, it was Oklahoma's defense.
John, we gave up 259 yards of total
259.
offense. When's the last time you heard us do that in a conference game?
Yeah. It's got to be.
See what I'm saying?
Mid to early 2000s or something like that.
Even as bad as some teams that we played against and we've destroyed, we still never held teams under 300 yards like this. Like, we didn't hold them this low. And that was what was impressive about it. South Carolina's been putting up yards on people. They were averaging almost over 400. And the run game is really one of their stronger suits.
Yeah.
Rocket Sanders had like 30-something yards rushing in this game. John, like, if I would have told you that, you would have looked at me and be like, no, there's no way the same Rocket Sanders who against LSU rushed for like 130, 40 yards. Let me get this real quick. There's no way this Oklahoma defense held him under 50 yards. John, we held him to 15 carries for 33 yards. They were trying to run the ball on this entire game, and they found no success, averaging 1.9 yards per carry. John, I'm going to even do them a favor. I'll take Davis Bevel's 1 carry for negative 13 yards, which I guess that was the kneel. That's a long. I think
that was a PJ Adebaware sack.
Oh, yeah, that was that sack. He did sack him, and they gave us credit for that. Take that off of there. They had 89 rushing yards all game long, and that is not what South Carolina does throughout the year. South Carolina is a lot better with that, and we did a good job of stopping it. The one thing that we did well, the one thing we struggled against Texas with, but we didn't struggle with nobody else. We didn't even struggle with this with Tennessee, but we made sure that South Carolina couldn't do it. The problem is that this defense is doing all this work, and it's being undone. It was being undone by the offense, and now with the changes on the offense, there's a possibility that we see an even bigger improvement on the defense.
Yeah, even if you take away the sack yardage from what South Carolina was able to do, I mean, yeah, they still ran for, according to Pro Football Focus, 122 yards on 35 carries. That's 3.5 yards per carry. So if you take all the sack yardage out, that's still pretty good. I mean, again, you still held Raheem Sanders to 2.2 yards per carry. That's really
crazy.
Good. And again, this is an Oklahoma defense that didn't let up. You got down 21-0 in the first 5 minutes and like 40 seconds of the game. And at that point, it would have been really, really easy to fold up shop and decide, all right, we're done. But they played hard the entire game. And they played a lot of people for the entire game. You saw a lot of guys get snaps.
Yeah.
And it maintained a good level of intensity. I mentioned it on the live show on Saturday that they gave up one scoring drive where South Carolina started with the ball in their end of the field.
Yep. That's how they scored the touchdown and got the 2-point conversion.
Yeah. That was it. They gave up a field goal on a short field, a touchdown on a short field, and then two defensive touchdowns. And that was it. So like, and then there was the fake, after the fake punt failure, South Carolina gained 4 yards and then kicked a field goal. Yep. Like, your defense stood tall. So as much as, you want to talk about even South Carolina got conservative, but they did not get conservative until really late in this game. Shane Beamer was on a mission to try and put points on the board against Oklahoma. He really wanted to chalk up those bonus points.
He needed style points.
Yeah, he wanted them style points. I mean, this is a team that, like, honestly, if there's a 3-win team that could make the playoff, South Carolina
Yeah, 3 lost one. Yeah. I mean, their schedule
2-point
is
loss to Bama, a 3-point loss to LSU, and a dominant win over Oklahoma and Norman. Like,
their
I'm
schedule.
not saying they could. I'm just saying if they
Right.
ran the table, I don't know.
And
why
they've got 3 straight ranked games: A&M, Vanderbilt, Missouri. Then Wolford's their typical SEC FCS game, and then they travel to Clemson, who's number 9.
And so back to our defense, man. The defense played great. I thought they played really, really well. I had people trying to downplay it and say they played good, they played fine, blah, blah, blah. No, they played really good. They had 22 total pressures. They had 6 sacks. They had double-digit tackles for loss. You know, they made Lenora Sanders work for his yards. And
yeah,
he gained some rushing yards. You know, again, take the sack yardage out. He had 60-something rushing yards, but he did not necessarily look very comfortable as a passer. And that's a credit to Oklahoma's defensive line that had him under pressure for a lot of the game.
Yeah, all intents and purposes, man, this defense did everything you asked for.
Yeah.
They gave up 180 yards passing. They gave up 76, what counts, right? The net yards is 76 yards rushing. They did everything that you could ask them and more. They unfortunately was not able to get a bunch of turnovers in this game because South Carolina didn't have to do a lot. They tried to force some fumbles. Like, I mean, if you go back and watch some of the way the defense of these linemen were hitting Lenore Sellers on their sacks, I thought we was going to get lucky enough to get one swat down, but we didn't. But, man, they were in. I mean, the David Stone almost sack was probably my favorite one of the game because it showed the hustle. Stone came in there like a bat out of hell, and he flew right over the top, and Sellers, being the athlete he is, he was able to duck around it, and as soon as he ducked and tripped up, Holton was still on his tail. Boom, took him down. That's what you need. You want guys that's going to continue to hustle even if you're struggling. They did that nonstop the entire game.
Yep.
You cannot be mad at that type of performance from this team, and I'm just hoping that the defense can keep this intensity going forward, especially at Oxford, and then from there going into the bye week into Missouri, and then prepare to play Maine, because Maine's going to be a challenge. They're throwing deep passes out there. Then you got Bama, LSU. I just need them to show up against Ole Miss. I just want that game to be close. If there's anything I've asked for in any of these games, I just want them to be fights. The last 2 have not been. They haven't been close. Tennessee, honestly, wasn't as close as I wanted it to be, but it's fine. But if you give me that going forward, we beat Auburn. If you give me that going forward, I won't complain.
Yeah. If the offense can show any sense of life and the defense continues to get this kind of performance, you have a chance to at least surprise people with the effort. I'm not going to sit here and say they go into Oxford and beat Ole Miss. I don't think that's going to happen.
Agreed.
At the same time, I think you can prove the doubters wrong. You can get out there and you can show that, hey, we're not going to go down without a fight. But it's going to take the offensive, effort to back that a little bit. But the defense, again, playing with pride, playing with heart, fighting for the team. They did everything they could to keep Oklahoma in the game. Now it's going to be up to the offense to carry their share of the load. Defense can't do it all. And likely they're not going to get very many opportunities to create turnovers because teams will be able to play conservative football against them, knowing that the offense has struggled, especially in SEC play. The offense, they've only averaged 11.75 points per game in the SEC in conference play. Not good enough. So got to get some offense. Hopefully Joe John Finley and Kevin Johns have some answers as to how to do that. We'll continue to break that down. See, hey, what can we expect from Oklahoma's offense moving forward? We'll talk some offensive coordinator possibilities for the future as well at some point on the show. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, as well. Follow me at John 9 Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all the social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay. I'm John. Boomer
Sooner.